uh, people are under enormous stress, and stress doesn't discriminate. Whether you're young or old, you know, whether you're working or not working, it really doesn't discriminate. Stress affects us all, and we all have different response to stress. I mean, even in normal circumstances, I was looking up some stats. It says that 70% of the people experience stress on a regular basis. And of course, that affects you mentally and physically. The Bible tells us that you know, God wants us to prosper in all matters of life and be in good health, even as our souls prosper. So we got to look at this holistically, you know, spirit, soul, and body. And that's why I think today's session is going to be so important to us, because can we record this?
Yeah.
Good. It's going to be important to us because most people under stress do not act as they would normally act. And this creates even more of an issue. So with the information that you're going to give us, we could understand what's going on, because the Bible doesn't talk about stress, but it talks about anxiety and worry. And it has a lot to say about anxiety and worry. And of course, anxiety and worry and stress are all connected. You can't be anxious and not be stressful. And you can't be worried all the time without having stress in your life. So you bring about that stress. So I'd like to just ask you that one question, and then you take over. And that is, how does stress affect health?
Thank you very much indeed, Pastor Chris, and thank you for the kind invitation and for being with my friends and colleagues. Actually, they're becoming colleagues now, because now we have been working together for a number of years.
4 years.
It's a great pleasure actually being with the group in Cornerstone. Yes, stress is the biggest element in which has really came into our life, modern life, and I think this is the thing which has probably this is one of the negatives, the biggest negatives in modern life, because stress by itself is not really a problem. When we talk about stress generally, it's not a problem, because we have got the acute stress, which is as a natural, normal way, because that's the thing. This give us like the way to protect ourselves and to keep ourselves safe. You see, the survival instinct. When we go around and sense and the environment around us, and make sure we're safe, we're okay, we're fine. But what makes the stress bad is when it becomes a chronic, when it reaches the chronicity, when it becomes when it's prolonged, because the acute stress is the time. Always, I mean, I say it is just like, say, when you are just imagine the stress you see, as if you are in a jungle being chased by a lion, and you're running away for your life. And by doing that, you see, the body will take all the resources of the body and put them in the most important part of the body to help you fight or flee the danger. Just like, say, the blood will go to the brain and to the heart and to the muscles, and you are able to fight and to flee. That's good. That is what we want, and that's what everybody should have. But the chronic stress is the thing which is most likely is attacking or coming into the mind. Just like, say, you imagine something bad is going to happen. I mean, and that is going to continue continue for long. That is the baddest thing. That's a bad thing. That is a thing that can result in disease. Disease, actually, we call it disease, can result in disease and chronic diseases, and can make people's life bad. One of the things I always talk about, you see, when I talk about this stress, I always worry about few things in the body. One of the things that I worry too much about is the stomach acids. Because I found people that are not really worrying too much about their stomach acid, because I think the stomach acid is the most important part of the body. Because without acids, you cannot really digest your food. And without acids, you cannot really protect yourself against invading organisms. Like, say, for example, the corona, and when we spoke about it, the virus comes into the body, and it's a very, very weak virus. Actually, it's one of the weakest viruses. It comes into the body, and it does not really travel on air. It does not really do something really miraculous, actually, to attack us. It has to be put into the face by any means, by just like, say, by contaminated air, or coming into our face, or by contaminated hands when we touch our face. And then it will find, the face is the most important really entry to the virus to the body, because there are the opening, the mouth and the nose and the eyes. And when the virus comes down into the throat, then it has got two options. One option is to go down through the gullet into the stomach, and that is really a very bad option, because in the stomach there is the stomach acid. So it will die in the stomach acids, definitely. The other option is not an easy option as well, because it has to go through the trachea, or actually to the windpipe, into the lungs. And that is not an easy one, because there is the mucous membrane, and has got two components of it. One component is the mucus, which will impair, you see, the viruses and any particles coming down into the lung. That's one important thing. And the other important component is the ciliary action, because these cilia, like a small little hairy stuff coming out of the mucous membrane, it works on continuously bringing these droplets, anything coming into the mucous membrane, up towards the throat. And when they come to the throat, then you feel a little bit unease, and you either cough them most of the time, you see, and you get rid of them. So, but I think about the stomach acid is the thing which has been hit very hard, you see, by stress. Because as we said, if somebody gets stressed, then most of the blood will go to the important areas which is needed for fight and fleeing the danger. And the stomach, digestion, these things are not really a priority. So the body will cut down the blood supply to the stomach, or to the gut generally. And then the gut will suffer, because you're not really going to have stomach acid. And the stomach acid is the most important really component of digestion, particularly of proteins. Because and proteins are the most important part of the food, because without proteins, you're not really going to make the brain chemistry. So people will be depressed, they'll be anxious because they haven't got enough serotonin, they'll be unhappy, they cannot sleep at night because they need the melatonin, which is part of the brain chemistry, comes from tryptophan, which is an amino acid. They lose their thyroid function, they cannot really have any energy, they cannot work, they are going to be lazy, they are just very lethargic, you see, because of the thyroid. And the amino acids is very important for the thyroid function. And without food, without getting this food through the stomach and through the gut, being digested and being absorbed, and get into the body, then the body is not going to function. So this is why I think the stomach is probably more important than the brain, or more important than the heart. Losing the stomach acid, you see, yeah, it's a big loss. But I can see many people, you see, I can see many people, you see, even multimillionaires, you see, they're coming to see me, and they have got nutritional deficiencies. When I came from Africa, I thought I have left malnutrition in Africa. But I think I have left one type of malnutrition there, but I came to see a very strange type of malnutrition in this country. For example, scurvy. I thought, I mean, scurvy is something which has been in the old days, the 15th, 17th century, when the sailors go on sea for months without having any fresh food, and then they develop scurvy. But I came to see scurvy here in London, in Harley Street. You see, I have seen many cases of scurvy, and when I say this is scurvy, you say, "Oh, it can't be." And then I say, "What do you eat?" And then I found they're not really eating anything fresh. They're business people, they're busy in the city, and they are just eating sandwiches from McDonald's and things like that, and they're not really having any fresh food. And you read the scurvy, and then they come back and, oh, yes, it is, yeah, everything has gone. My gum, which was hurting and bleeding, is gone. My skin, which is bleeding, my joints, which are hurting as well, everything is gone because I have had vitamin C. So, so I think there are too many really areas of stress which would be detrimental to our health. And the most important thing, which I feel now, this COVID-19 is an adversity. But I think any adversity has always adversity has at least equal or more benefits. And I think there is a lot of benefits here, because one of the things which people would, during this epidemic, every time, and I have spoken to many patients, and they are very, very much annoyed and very much worried about when the media and the reports spoke about people with chronic condition. They have made this group of elderly and chronic condition. Everybody who is over 70, everybody with any chronic condition, these are the very high risk group. And so many people, you see, they get annoyed about that, you see, when they hear it in the media. And some of them they just started asking themselves a good question. And one of the good questions I have heard, somebody asked me, you see, can I get rid of my chronic conditions and come back again to the normal risk people or low risk people? And I said, yes, you can do that. That is easy. And this is what we have been talking about. We've been talking about functional medicine. So you're just talking about the difference between functional medicine and conventional medicine, because conventional medicine say to people, stay with your condition for the rest of your life and take these pills, and you are not able to get rid of it, you see, stay like that. But now I think there is a lot of necessity in so many people to get rid of these chronic conditions and come back again to normal life. So this is one very important issue. The very big issue which you have learned from this epidemics is not the virus. The virus is not the problem. It's not really the virus. The problem is not in the virus. The problem is in us. We are the problem, because our immune system has lost its ability to work properly to defend the body. And actually, if we are going to take this one to make it like, say, an accurate statement, we have got an overreactive immune system. And that is a problem, because when you think about what happens in the lung, You see the virus go there and going through all these barriers, you see, of the mucociliary stuff until reaching the lung. When the virus goes inside the lung, you see, they have got, actually, this is really, it's not an imagination. This is not like, this is a real thing. It has got keys. The virus has got keys on it. If you can just imagine the image of the virus itself, it has got, like say, a mushroom-like projections from around the crown, you see? And these are keys, and the virus uses keys to get inside the lung cells. And by getting inside the lung cells, then it will get into the kitchen of the cell, because this is where the virus makes the energy and makes the proteins. And it hijacks that point, you see, it hijacks the kitchen. And then it starts taking all these resources the cell is making and use them for its own benefit to increase in number, to increase in number, you see, and divide really very fast to increase in number. And that until the lung cell swells up with thousands or probably millions of viruses inside it. And this would really attract the attention of the immune system. And so the immune system, instead of coming to use small little guns to get rid of this cell filled with viruses, or cell being hijacked or being occupied by viruses, it will bring the big guns. And one of the big guns in medicine is something called interleukin-6. So that's a very big one. And this, when this the interleukin hits the lung cells, it will just really destroy everything. And then thousands or millions of viruses will be just floating up. And then they fall on the red blood cells. Do you know red blood cells? These are the ones which contain the hemoglobin, which transport oxygen to the different parts of the body. And the most important part inside the hemoglobin is the ion. The ion molecule is the most important part. But the ion has been protected by this envelope, and it stays in the form of ferrous. But by the time when the virus hit with the mushroom-like projections on the red cells, then it destroys, it tears off the covering layer of the red cell and exposes the hemoglobin out. And when the hemoglobin is exposed to oxygen, this turns the ion from the ferrous state, which is a stable state, to a ferric state, which is very unstable and highly inflammatory. And that is the thing which is just start big, like say, big fires and series of fires and bombs and exploding. This is what is known as cytokine storm. I think that most of you have heard about this. This is it's not due to the virus. It's due, the virus is just touching the red cell. It's just, but is the overactive immune system. The immune system is becoming very active. We lost the tolerance. I mean, if you can just imagine now, I mean, previously I had been working in Sudan, and I have never heard too much about autoimmune diseases. But now I think probably if you go back to Sudan or here, even in the UK, 50%, very high percentage of the population have got autoimmune disease. And what does autoimmune disease means? It means that the body, the immune system is fighting the body own cells. It fights the thyroid cells, or it fights the muscle cells, or the adrenal cells, or the pancreas cells to cause diabetes. So the body, the immune system has lost the tolerance, because previously the immune system is used to be tolerant to the body where the immune system lives. But now the immune system is as if is just really coming from another world. It does not really belong to this body anymore and does not know too much about the body. While the immune system is supposed to be looking after the body, looking about the body safety and security, but now it has been turned against the body. And that is the problem. So the problem is not the virus, and the virus should not really be any big threat to us, like big multi-billions organisms. And the virus is not even one cell. The virus is too much smaller than a unicellular microorganism, and it's still threatening us and has kept us in this big jailed, you see, in our prisons. You see, we cannot move, we cannot travel, we have lost our freedom. That is not really possible. That is not really possible. So I think the best thing, as Pastor Chris you said, is like this is a very important, really, gestures or a point, you see, where we should really think about this artificial life we are living in, and we have to go back again to the original lifestyles which we have seen in the 50s and the 60s.
Yes. I was watching last night Dr. Mark Hyman with Dr. Ashim. He's a UK cardiologist, very specialist. They were saying exactly the same thing as you, Dr. Sharief, that the problem, and they called it the elephant in the room, is really us. Yes. It's because our immune system and inflammation in the body is so high. I mean, 90% of people in the US have some form of inflammation, mostly through their diet and diseases caused by their diet. That really, it's only a small percentage of people who have an immune system strong enough to cope with even the smallest. And they didn't even go to the COVID-19. They went to the ordinary flu virus, and they just gave some statistics. And it's frightening that we, as you know, in today's society, that we can't even deal with the basic issues. 70% of all deaths are caused by our bad lifestyle and bad diet. So, you know, forget about all these other attacks that come toward us. So, you know, what I gleaned from that is that we have to change, of course, and as you said, that this has got us to focus on things that we wouldn't have looked at before. But stress in itself, because it's such a false environment, stress in itself, and you said, well, stress affects your stomach, which is really your most important organ in terms of protection and stuff. But how can, you know, the Bible tells us how we can deal with anxiety, and that, which is wonderful, because if you trust God, certain amounts and certain worries and certain amount of anxiety will disperse.
Yes.
But you can't ignore the fact that you're in lockdown, that your future is very uncertain because no one's telling you what they're going to do. No one knows what to do. So we can take it to a level, on a spiritual plane, but there is another level, and that is, you know, how do we cope? You've explained a lot to us that, you know, to be healthy and be able to take stress, which our bodies are designed to do, we've got to eat healthy and, of course, do other things, sleep, meditate. All of that is what we see in the Bible, how it really encourages us to do that.
Yes.
But are there any other things? Because anger, it seems to have just It's off the Richter scale now. That's also caused by stress.
Yes.
And stress in the workplace has been brought into the home. And so there are all these different areas of stress that we never experienced before. Stress in your office now is now stress in your home.
Yes.
And the anger you might have released while watching a football game,
Yeah.
now you don't even have that privilege. There's just all these things. So what else can you sort of recommend that would help us understand what stress is doing to our bodies?
Yeah. I think the simple answer to your question, that's a really very important question, is what you are doing now. Actually, this is the answer.
Right.
Staying connected, this is spiritual life, this very, really nice, really good connection. People love each other. They are supporting each other at any time, you see, during the day and at night, you see. That is the thing which we wanted to have, because this is our safety, our security, our good feelings, all comes from that. And if you remember, actually, one of the things which I remember during the course which we have had, the days, you see, on Sundays night course, one of the studies which was, I think, one of the longest studies it was, I think, in London. I think it was UCL or something like that. And they have studied people who have been connected together, like say in a church. And they're coming, attending the services, and they are very much connected together. And they measure their hair cortisol, which is the stress hormone. For over a period of long time, you see, over a period of number of years, I think it's about 9 years or 10 years. And they have found these people who continue to be connected together, their cholesterol, their cortisol level just kept coming down, 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 a very smooth trend that continued for 10 years. That means this is one of the powerful and strong, really, remedies to stress.
The power of community.
Power of community, yes, yeah. They just come together and...
Tell us about the cortisol.
Cortisol.
Where is it made in the body? Where is it made?
The cortisol is made in the adrenal gland because the adrenal gland has got two. Sides, which is the small little small little gland on top of the kidneys, both kidneys. And it has got two parts. One part is the inner part, which is called the medulla, and the outer part is called the cortex. In the medulla, you have got one part of the adrenal hormones, which is the adrenaline and noradrenaline. But in the cortex, you have got the cortisol and the rest of the hormones. So cortisol actually is produced in the adrenal gland, but the trigger to make the cortisol comes from the brain, from the hypothalamus, and it comes to the pituitary gland, which is also in the brain. And the pituitary gland send a hormone called adrenocorticotrophic hormone to the adrenal gland to produce the cortisol. And cortisol, actually, if you are going to take the nickname of cortisol, cortisol is the blood sugar regulating hormone, because the name is glucocorticoid. And gluco means glucose. Pastor Chris, you know this, the language. As a glucose and corticoid, that means the hormone that regulates the blood sugar. But I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, and what is the connection between sugar and stress? So this also has been taken to control stress levels. And I think that there's a big connection between sugar and stress as well. So that's one thing. One thing is the the that's one thing, is just to the connection, staying together. That is a big, really, solution. And another thing also you do, which I like, is the service, the service, and the singing. These are actually, there's a number of studies which show that singing, listening to music, listening to humor, jokes, and things like that, have got a big effect to reduce the level of stress. It is very, very, these are the things which people should really do. And I think we have lost that. I mean, I remember in the 60s, when we were young, and people gathered together, and then they listen to each other, and they're joking, they're singing, they're doing things really very nice. And that just take off all the stress, you see, they gained during the day, you see, and by the time when they go to bed, then they are stress-free and wake up tomorrow very well refreshed. But these things are not really happening anymore. But also, I mean, if we can think about other thing, which most of the time, actually, when I see any patients who are really very stressed, and I say, you can do one of two things. Either you change your perception, or you change your response. And then people will just think this is really too simple to be of any value.
Well, let's discuss that on Wednesday, because we concentrate more on the mind.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
Yes.
But I'd like to open it up for people to ask you questions today, Dr. Sharief. I'm sure there are people that would love to just ask you. If you want to ask Dr. Sharief something, just wave to me and then I will switch you on. There's Gary. Okay, Gary.
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Sharief. Thank you for your insight this morning. You mentioned earlier that you believe that things can be restored. I'm on the list of one of the very vulnerable at the moment. I've got something called severe eosinophilic asthma, which I'm under the Royal Brompton in London for. I'm on various inhalers, nebulizers, tablets, pills, buffers, etc., etc. They told me it's irreversible.
Yes.
Are you saying that it can be reversed?
Of course, of course. And it will be reversed not by looking at your chest, because this is another problem, actually, I face when I see somebody who is coming with a chest problem. And by the time when they talk to me about the problem, and I say, okay, the problem is probably not in your chest. The problem is probably in your gut.
Okay.
Okay, and let us just work on that. Asthma can be controlled to a great extent. And I have seen so many people, they were able to reverse it completely.
Okay, how would I do this?
Yeah, but that is going to find out exactly what are the triggers, what are the issues which has brought the asthma, if there is any family history, and what is the influence, and then look into the biochemistry and the genetics. And there is always some solutions, because the solutions for somebody might not be the solution for another person. But there is always ways, actually, to get down to the root causes and to do something about it. I mean, connections, for example, vitamin D. Would you expect vitamin D to be connected to asthma? Nobody would expect that. But the recent research has shown that vitamin D actually is one of the is an agent which is really very, very important in autoimmunity. Why? Because vitamin D, if you can just imagine, the immune system works like different armies, just like, say, different regiments. And it starts working, you see, separately. But vitamin D is the only agent that can unite these regiments working together like one army to protect the body, you see. And so it is very important in autoimmune diseases, and that is very helpful, you see, when you just really look into your vitamin D level and correct if your vitamin D is lower than normal. Things like inflammation, which can comes from food, can comes from other issues. I mean, some people might have got some food does not agree with them, like, for example, gluten or dairy, or these are also things which need to be looked at, and to exclude things which does not really work with you. But there is always, because functional medicine look into the whole person and look into the why the issue has happened, and if there is anything which is not working properly, and that has need to be corrected. And most of the time, you see, we are not really looking at a specific symptom. Just like, say, it's exactly like what will happen in the MOT. The MOT, you're not really looking for a specific problem in the automobile or something like that. So you check everything and see how they are functioning. And if anything needs any attention, you correct them. And then by the end of the process, most likely that vehicle or that person is going to work perfect, in perfect good order. And that is going to reverse or remove or sort out so many issues. It's not like just sorting out one issue.
Okay.
What we can do, Gary, is I'll give you Dr. Sharief's email, and you can, maybe email him and get some advice that way.
Thank you.
Of course.
Wonderful. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Just put your hand up if you want to speak to Dr. Sharief. There we go. Len.
Hi, yeah. I was born with an underactive thyroid, but they didn't find out until I was 3 years old, when I wasn't walking or talking or anything. But thankfully to God that, a miracle that I survived that long. And also later on in years, I found out I had von Willebrand disease and then later autoimmune disease, which is pernicious anemia. I don't know a lot about the pernicious anemia, other than that I have to have B12 injections every 3 months. Is there anything I can do to help improve that, or some of them maybe to help disappear it, for it to disappear? Also, I have von Willebrand's disease as well, which is a blood disease. Know a bit more about that, and if there's anything I can do to improve it.
Yeah, it's a blood, it's a blood disease. Yes. Generally speaking, you have got an element of autoimmunity, and you can do something about your autoimmune conditions. The difficulty might be, you see, when you work with autoimmune conditions which has got, like, say, a genetic or inherited really elements, it would be very difficult, because sometimes, you see, you need to go to work outside the box. Just like say, for example, I have found, you see, at some stages, when somebody has got a certain difficulty to activate, for example, a vitamin or something like that, or they have got a receptor problem, receptor in the body which is not working, for example, then you might need to go for a very huge doses of that particular vitamins or minerals, which sometimes might be a difficulty in this country, because you have to work according to the standards which had been laid out. You see, we we have been given some limitation, you see. We have been working in a certain certain standards which are recognized to be safe and to be okay for everybody. But still, you can do a lot to reduce the autoimmune diseases. I don't think we can do anything about Willy-Brandt disease. That's something which, and it's not really a big problem, isn't it? It's not a big problem. It does not really affect your life that much.
It's not so bad now because I'm at an age now, but when I was fertile, sort of thing like that, it was when I had my monthly every month sort of thing, it was really badly. And yeah, but now that I haven't for a year, that side of it is okay. It's only if I have an accident or if I have to go for an operation, I have to have the von Willebrand's for insulin. Now, they didn't find out till I was 40 with that anyway, when I did have lots of childhood problems of hemorrhaging. Yeah. But yeah.
But it's not
thyroid or the autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
That's only been 2 years, the autoimmune disease, and the B12.
B12 is new as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it needs a bit of investigation. We need to go through some investigations and find out exactly what is the root cause of the problem, and then do something about it. I mean, most of these diseases are reversible. Most of these diseases are reversible, or even if they are too long, I say, you see, for diabetic, you see, if you have been diabetic for 50 years and you have had complications already happened, and we cannot probably bring that back, but still we can, instead of taking, for example, I've got some patients who have been diabetic for a long time and they're taking something like 120 units of insulin. We can bring it down to 10 or even 20 units of insulin, which is a big gain for them, you see. So you can reverse the problem to a great extent, or you can reverse the problem altogether back to normal, depending on how long has it been there and what are the components, what are the underlying causes. But we have been now in this line of medicine for a few years, and I know most of these conditions are reversible.
Yeah, because I know when I forgot to have my B12 injection one time, I was a month over. It was when my granddad died and I wasn't thinking about things at the beginning of this year. And I just felt so shattered. I had no energy. I was aching and everything. It was like I had the flu, but without all the other symptoms. And I suddenly thought, oh, I've got my B12. So I managed to go and get an appointment just before the lockdown. But yeah.
It's a very big, B12 is very big, B12 and folate. These are two big vitamins in the body because these move the main engine of the body. You see how you feel tired, exhausted, your sensation, your mind is becoming slow, your brain becomes slow, your sensation on the skin, your legs, because these are all affected by B12. And so it's very important. So every 3 months probably is good. But if you're more than 3 months, it will be difficult because it is stored in the liver. B12 is stored in the liver, you see, and the storage normally lasts about 3 months. So exactly this is what happens. So if you go beyond that, then the store would have been run out, and then you need to get some more.
Right. How do I investigate it? How do I investigate it?
You can do some antibodies because it's actually the B12 is produced in B12 actually is not the important thing. What is important is something called intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is produced from the stomach, just like say the same cells that produce the acid, it produces the intrinsic factor. So if you are not producing enough intrinsic factor, because the intrinsic factor is the thing that takes B12, just keep holding B12 and take it at the end of the small intestine across the gut wall and put it in the blood. So if you're not able to do that, then you need to have the injectable thing which would go straight into the blood. But why did you have the antibody? Then this is a question. This is a question, because you see, you have to go why and why and why until you reach the highest upstream really point, and that is the thing which is going to help probably most of your immune system, most of your immune condition.
Do you think stress could have caused it? Because I at that time I was very anxious and had a lot of stress and a lot of things I was dealing with.
Of course, because stress actually, when you are stressed, your gut is not going to be your priorities. They are not. Your body shut the blood supply to the gut completely, and then your digestion will suffer, and then you are not having all sorts of things. Your gut is not working. Then you start having leaky gut. You see, and when you have leaky gut, then the autoimmune disease take place.
Good. Katie, you've got a question. No? Katie, no?
No, thank you.
Anyone? Anyone else?
Actually, Liz.
Liz.
Hi, Dr. Sharief. I'm just thinking about different types of diet. Would you say that the best diet, the overall best diet, would be a Mediterranean one? Would you say that was, or would you add things to that? What would you say would be the best kind of diet to keep us healthy all the time, or a mixture, or?
Yeah, I think the Mediterranean diet is a good diet for most of people. But I think when you speak about diet, I think there is, everybody has got the thing that works best for them.
Yeah.
I mean, but the general rule, you need to come back to Mother Nature and have everything like, say, whole, natural, real food, rather than artificial food, which you're talking about natural food or real food rather than factory food which has been made in the factory under a very high temperature, which is not really going. It's going dead food and live food. So you need live food, and then that's the general thing. And then you need to take something like, say, a small amount of meat and or fish and this thing, which is also very important. And the main focus is around the vegetables and fruits.
And another thing which I heard last night, which is like almost idiot-proof, when you pick up packaged food, even bread, if it's got more than 5 ingredients, chuck it away.
Yeah, it should be one item, yes, sir.
If you look at, just pick up a loaf of bread and you'll see like, it's got like 30 ingredients. This is a loaf of bread. It can't be good for you. So just looking at the label and just seeing how many ingredients it has.
Yeah.
There are some basic things that you've got to put in there.
Healthy food and non-healthy food, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It should have one ingredient on it.
Yeah.
Yes. Lisa?
And anything you can't pronounce.
Yeah, anything which I can.
Andre?
Okay.
Yeah. Andre? Yeah.
Just a quick question now about frozen foods, frozen vegetables. How do they stand?
Fresh frozen vegetables.
They are probably better than fresh vegetables. Why? Because most of the exogenous brought vegetables, which is brought from long distances. I mean, I think some of the vegetables and fruits, sometimes you see they are imported from something like Latin America. So how long are they going to be on ships? And how long are they going to be on storage here? And sometimes you get some fruits and vegetables which are not really supposed to be in summertime, you see, or winter time, and then you find them in the wrong season. So this might have been stored for a long, long time. The frozen food is better because you see, most of the time you see it's picked up and immediately frozen. And so the nutritional value probably might be even better. So it's not bad. And I use quite a number of them, like frozen berries. frozen berries, actually, this is really a very good option. You just get them and put them on the freezer, and you take a small amount every time. They're very convenient and they're good, and I think they have got good nutritional value.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
James, you've got a question?
Hi, Dr. Sharief. Thank you very much for that, for the insightful talk you've explained to us. Could you just highlight in brief what you think we should be doing in terms of exercise on a daily basis during lockdown? I've been used to doing a lot of walking during my commute, but I'm not doing that at the moment. So as basics, what should we be doing kind of as a minimum?
I think even during the lockdown, even if you don't really want to leave the house altogether, you can still exercise inside the house. One of the one of the activities which people do not really put as exercise is gardening, doing the house jobs, for example, or the other things. If you would like to do, like say cardio, still there are too many cardio which you can do, like say running on the spot. I mean, I used to do that, you see, and or running in a small little space. I remember I did 10 miles in a hospital car park. 10 miles. one day it was too very heavy rains, and I just decided to do 10 miles in a hospital car park. So these are the things which you could do. But the rest of the other things, you see, the strength training, also using your body weight, like say push up and pull up, and these are the things which is which would help. But also it's very, very important to do flexibility, yoga and flexibility. These are very, very important. And this is the thing which is the area which I have really put a little bit more attention during the lockdown. I did a lot of them, and now I feel my body is much more flexible than previously. I used to struggle very badly, even by doing something like that, you see. But now, you see, I'm quite good, you see, with even my legs, you see, out of the long distance running, they become too stiff. Now doing a lot of flexibility has helped quite a lot.
Just to clarify, Dr. Sharief, yoga isn't the religious practice. We're talking about the exercises that we can see, and some of them, because yoga can be an act of worship, but we're talking about this type of stretching exercises that you do. I know I do a lot of that. The girls, I do that in the morning first thing. But it's not an act of worship. It's stretching. It's releasing.
No, it stretches.
Yeah.
No, it's not. That's a stretch. No, even actually, what I have just learned, I have done my own my own stretches exercises. Because you see, every time you see, when I see there is most of the time, you see the shoulder muscles. These are the things which get stiff working on the computer most of the time. You see. These are the things which get stiff, and I just started learning some techniques, how to stretch these muscles, and how to strengthen these muscles, and the core strengthening, the core training is very, very important, because I think for everybody, not even for running, or the core training is very, very important. So, and I think there is a lot of really scope for exercising during the lockdown, definitely. But going out, if there is any chance to go out, it is good, because you get exercise plus the being in nature. That is really very, very helpful as well.
Yeah. Anyone else? Because we do have another session on Friday, so Wednesday, I should say. Anyone else? No. Okay, I'm just going to read you a scripture so we can end in a prayer today. It's in Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30. And this is Jesus. He said, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle, lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. You know, I believe that the easiest way for us to relieve ourselves of stress is to first come to Jesus and lay our burdens on him, because he's given us an invitation. He said, come to me, all who are heavy laden, all who are burdened, all who are stressed. We accept that invitation and we come to him. We lay down our worries and our anxieties. That's the first place. And what we're doing, and it's what Dr. Sharief is really helping us with, is understand, you know, being ignorant, and the Bible also talks a lot about that, is that if we're ignorant, we can't actually do much. We have to have knowledge. And first we should have knowledge of God, trust him enough to do things, but also we need knowledge that we can apply in our lives. And that's why these sessions are so valuable. So Dr. Sharief, we really do love and appreciate you. You've been such a blessing to us. And on Wednesday, we will continue. Ring up all your friends and tell them they can't miss that session. And thank you all for joining us today. God bless you.
Thank you for having me, and wish you all the best.
Yeah. Send us a photo of the food and the menu. What restaurant did you say?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.